Are you ready for this mouthful? Today's long-term review is on the Canon WP DC55 underwater case. I already did an unboxing on this underwater case, so if you want to see more of what it comes with, check out the link in the description below. Let's get into it. The Canon WP DC55 waterproof case used for diving or taking pictures on the surf. I have two cons. Let's start with the cons because there are few. The first one is it only has one mounting bracket down below. I wish it had three because you tend to over tighten when you have one bracket, which can break the acrylic. The second one is that because it's acrylic all over, light comes in and sometimes you have difficulty seeing stuff on your screen. That's it. One more. Oh yeah, you can't use Wi-Fi. I never use Wi-Fi with my camera anyway. And you can't use the touchscreen when it's in the case. I don't need the touchscreen in the case, so I'm good. It suits my needs 100%. Now let's move on to the pros. You can use gloves with this underwater. The buttons are big enough and easy to manipulate. Even these little buttons on the back, you can use your gloves with, because they're not all the same. They're not the same level. They don't protrude at the same level, so you can actually feel and push the buttons easy. I've used it with my 3.5 gloves and I had zero issues. If you're ambidextrous, it's perfect because you can put the lanyard on the left, right, upper, or lower side. Hey, what more can you ask for? It's like Burger King. You can have the lanyard your way. Yes. Now let's move on to the manufacturer recommended maintenance. They recommend, after being used in salt water, to rinse it out in fresh water and to take your camera out after you clean the case with fresh water. They also recommend, and I think this is a little controversial, at least to me, at least my opinion is controversial. They recommend changing your rubber gasket once a year. But in my case, I would change it if it's discolored, there's pits, if it's stretched. As you can see, I keep our gasket in a bag when it's not in the camera. And that's a good place to keep it. A clean Ziploc bag. Make sure you squeeze all the air out and put a little bit of the silicone oil on it before you put it away. Other than that, I don't think you have to change it every year. I've only had this case for about 6 or 8 months. We've got between 20 and 30 dives with it. And I always, along with cleaning it in the fresh water, I always, I don't leave my case in the water with the other stuff when you're on a dive boat. I put it in, rinse it out, and then I immediately take it out and take it over to the spray nozzle and spray it down. And then in the other bucket, I push the buttons to make sure that any salt deposits, if there's any, I rinse them out from here. And then I go another step further. When I'm done with the trip, I open up the case and I push each button and put a little bit of silicone on the gasket that's inside. That saves the gasket on each buttons. And that's about it. I don't use any rags to wipe it off unless it's moist or wet, because as you know, acrylic can get scratched easily. So I guess that's a con. other than that, it performs well for us. Oh yeah, I have one thing. Don't store your case with the rubber gasket installed, because you'll have the most difficult time opening your case when you need it, especially if it sits for longer than a couple hours. Once I left my gasket in for about 2.5 weeks, and it took me about 2 minutes to open a case. It felt like this little hinge right here, which is plastic, was gonna be, it was flexing, and I thought I was gonna break it off. I didn't, luckily. So that was a lesson I learned, or a lesson I taught myself. Don't do that. It's super easy to install your camera. I wish I could show you how to install the camera, but I'm using the camera right now. So once again, for maintenance, make sure you rinse this off in fresh water or sweet water immediately after coming out of the water every time, and then follow it up with the button pushes, holding it underwater and pushing the buttons, making sure you clear each button. That gets all the salt deposits out, and turning the top, you know, while it's underwater. And then I don't lubricate this before every dive. What I do is at the beginning of the trip, I lubricate it. And depending on how many times I've opened and closed the case in a dirty area, I will lubricate my gasket. But normally I don't do it for each dive. I will do it at the beginning of each dive session and at the end of the session after I've cleaned it, make sure that the buttons are pushed and I put silicone inside. So you figure that is how easy it is to maintain. This is a long-term review, so let's get on with the long-term review. We've used this underwater case for about 30 dives, plus or minus 5. It's performed well before and after each dive. The maintenance is very simple, and I can't complain about anything, except for the screen being a little difficult to see underwater. When you're moving around, the sun is hitting you at the right angle. But other than that, it hasn't done anything wrong. Everything still works perfectly as like we just opened the box and started using it. There aren't any major scratches on it. There might be some hairline scratches, but nothing that prevents you from seeing anything. Nothing that makes it look super cheap. It has performed well. Would I buy it again? Based on the cost, yeah. The cost was minimal compared to the others. It's more rugged than the Palouse and the Sea Frog and a few other manufacturers I can list. It's about the same price. And because it's made by the same company that makes the camera, you can trust the fit. There's no flexing in it like a lot of the other, PET, the plastic cases. It's always rigid. Really like it. I would recommend buying this, especially if you're a surface photographer or you do night dives, stuff like that. But if you're always in the sun, I would get a case that's black, because it does let through some glare, and if that's important to see your screen, you'll have some difficulty with that. But other than that, it's a great case. But check out our other videos and stand by for more of our tech reviews coming soon. So, today's long-term review is on the Canon underwater case for the GX7X camera. That's a mouthful. It keeps your camera waterproof and dry. The diffuser goes on easily. Bam, like that. I can live with it. Can you?